Hi, this is Dr. Paul. I wanted to share with you some really exciting stuff. These are some things that really drew me into doing this in my profession. So I want to talk about basic neurology and basic neurochemistry, which leads into medications we'll talk about in a moment. So if we break down the nervous system, the brain's the center of it, but the nervous system goes really everywhere in the body. Throughout every piece of the body has the nervous system attached. And it's composed of neurons, which are nerve cells. So under an electron microscope, it looks kind of like that. And this is the kind of the body and the tail of it. And there's over 100 billion of these in your body. And what happens is that they pass chemicals from one cell to the next cell. And these chemicals travel around your body about 1,000 times a second, if you can believe that. And there's a space in between we call the synapse. That's the space in between the cells, over 100 trillion of those in your body. So I know this is really mind-blowing when you think about those numbers. And by the way, the pun is intended there. So if we look at the more details, this is the synapse, and these are the, so there's little holes called receptor sites. So when the cells are communicating, they send messages from one cell to the next, but different chemicals. And I break it down into 4 key chemicals: serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine, and GABA. And also glutamate there. So what's supposed to be happening is they're supposed to be firing in a one-way direction at all times, and that's a healthy nervous system when everything's flowing correctly. What becomes unhealthy is when there's an imbalance in your system, and what happens is that leakages develop on the cell membrane on certain chemicals, so that they end up going backwards and they go the wrong way. So we call this neurochemical imbalances. And why do they happen? Well, just keeping it short, genetics is the cause of it. Mostly it runs in families. Hormone changes don't help. Trauma doesn't help. So certain things cause this imbalance to happen. And again, these are the key neurochemicals. So what medications really do is try to fix this. So many people have heard of SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So listen to that. It inhibits the reuptake of serotonin because it actually attaches to the serotonin site and it blocks that happening. And so it forces that chemical to connect properly. And then in the same thing, and now if you, what we call SNRIs, so serotonin-norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, it works on both chemicals, and both of them are going this way. And when we work on something like Wellbutrin, which works on dopamine, it forces dopamine forward. And there's other chemicals that work on GABA. And there's sometimes what happens is dopamine goes too quickly, and so we have to slow it down. So sometimes it's not so much a problem going forward, but sometimes we need to slow it down, it needs to go a little bit further backwards. So medications are really trying to fine tune this and normalize the chemistry. And what happens then when the chemistry is normalized is the person really becomes their true self, because when they're at a balanced state in their system, the person feels like, I haven't felt this good in years. This is the old me come back again. And it is, because what it is, it's a neurochemistry balance, and that's the balanced person that's really healthy. And for reasons the person has absolutely no control over. So, we mentioned here some basics. What really got me into this, I started as a family doctor, but I got really drawn into this in the 1990s because I've always loved puzzles. And as a kid growing up, I loved chess. And this is like a puzzle. It's like a human puzzle that I'm trying to figure out this. And so it's kind of fun for me to do this. And I love doing this stuff, because I have to figure this out. And sometimes it's tricky, sometimes it's easier. But I love the challenge of it. I love figuring it out. I love seeing patients that have seen other doctors and they can't figure it out. And I love figuring it out. And so anyway, this is just a basic of what I do. And I talk about this a lot more like in my first book, Healing the Mind and Body. It's the first of a 3-series of books. But on the first book, I talk about that. I talk about that in my new book, The Corona Protocol, also, which came out earlier this year. So if you want to get more into it, you might want to look into my books. So I hope that is helpful as just introductory to explain like what I do in my practice.